Are home builders in trouble in 2023? Jeremy at the Night Group, your favorite Austin realtor. What's pretty interesting is I started doing some research on this topic and I found these two articles right off the bat and literally what 7 days difference makes. Drop a comment below if you're considering buying new construction or under contract for new construction in 2023. Give me your thoughts. I want to hear from you. Throughout this video, I'm going to talk to you about what's actually happening in new construction and what's going on, kind of what the incentives look like and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned for that because there's some good information if you're considering even buying new construction in 2023. First, you have home builder sentiment in February improved by the biggest amount in a decade. So this would tell you that, man, home builders are really excited. In January, I went to a big event for a big home builder here, and everyone was pretty excited the first couple weeks of the year as far as the home builders go. So I can understand why home builder sentiment went up big time in January. We had low interest rates and people were running back out to new construction. Well, we're going to talk about how February fared because that was the headline here. But if you read this, 42% is the home builder confidence. Now, the home builder confidence is just kind of like a, how home builders are feeling right now, right? But this is 42%. 50% is like the middle and they're still at 42%. So it shows you that home builder confidence still is pretty low. But what they're saying is that it was even lower and they saw the biggest jump, like a 7% jump. But there's some information in here that's also pretty important as well. And that was the fact that in January, we saw the amount of price drops for new construction at 31%. The previous 2 months were 35 and 36%. So we are seeing less overall price drops for new construction as of January. I have the numbers for what's happening here in the Austin area, and here's two stats that are kind of interesting, or going to be interesting to you. Right now, 40% of the overall inventory on the market, 40% is new construction. Of the price drops in the last 7 days here in the Austin area, 32% of the overall price drops were actually new construction. Here's what's also pretty interesting. 72% of the price increases were actually new construction, new builders as well. I'm actually going to talk to you pretty soon about what I actually talked to home builders about. I actually went through and interviewed a few home builders, so we're going to talk about their sentiment. But 72% of the price increases were new construction, and what we'll see is then they'll drop the prices again as well. But I want to tell you about that. About the same time that this article came out is when interest rates started pumping back up. But here's the other article, and this came out literally 2 days ago. New home inventory is up 115%. That's crazy. It's out of control. So here's what's interesting in this article is this is a combination of declining mortgage rates, reduced home prices, and incentives provided by home builders helped spur sales in January. So we actually saw that in January where there was a lot more homes that went under contract that were new construction. This is saying that it's up 7.2% from December. So a total of 670,000 sales or under contract. But here's what's pretty interesting. That very next paragraph, it tells us that 57% of home builders actually used incentives to get their homes under contract. What means, and we're going to talk about some of the incentives that some of these builders are giving because I called them. I got some information here. But what they're doing is they're giving like buy downs, they're giving money towards closing costs. And actually later on in this article, it talks about price reductions, which we'll get to in a second, because that's a really important point because I actually looked it up. I did it for you. I looked up the amount of homes that are closing below list price right now compared to the end of last year to right now. And you would be pleasantly surprised if you're looking at homes, well, not if you're looking at a 7% interest rate. And it says new single family home inventory has been declining since September, which it stood at 10.1 months supply. In January, it stood at 7.9 months supply. So we are seeing a reduction in overall new construction. But if you look at the Austin area, we're still at 40% of our inventory is new construction. That's a lot of inventory. So let's talk about some of those price reductions though, because I think that's what you want to hear most, right? You want to hear about the price reductions. So I actually pulled the information and I looked at the end of last year, the sales price to close price ratio for new construction. So the median, so we always go by median for whatever reason, but the median list price was $469,000 in our MLS. The sales close price was 445. Now this is around the December timeframe. Now it went from 447 down to 429. So we're looking at from 469 all the way down to 429. That's a pretty big drop in really a month from list price to close price ratio. So yeah, we are seeing below list price. In fact, what's interesting, I just had a client who we had to end up terminating with a big builder here, and we'd already negotiated the price. And right before we went to close, we decided to negotiate the price again. And we actually went from a 550 price point down to 518. Now, unfortunately, my client still just decided with interest rates being so high that they didn't want to buy that home after all. But that is showing you that builders are still taking reductions in prices right now, even on homes that are under contract. So I want to get to what the builders said to me when I actually called and talked to the builders about their sentiment overall. We talked about the builder sentiment a minute ago as far as nationally, but I want to give you an idea of what builders are talking about locally. But I got this email, and these are the emails that I'm constantly getting, especially when it comes to inventory. This is Perry Homes, and they're building out in Anthem, which is in Kyle. They're talking about that they have 15 remaining inventory homes. But here's where this mailer that I get kind of gets a little interesting. So homes ranging from 2,100 square foot to 2,700 square foot. Now, this is an Anthem. I'm not a hugest fan of Anthem yet. Well, if you know me, because tax rates are high and you're paying in the $499 to $650 range for this area, and those are off the price reduced. So it was selling for a lot more. Now it's come down. But here's what's interesting. We will not be going into phase two and not 100% sure if we are coming back to any future phases. So this is pretty interesting. So these are 15 on the market properties right now, or what they have inventory. But you're seeing price reduction on this home, 613 down to 544. On this one, 629 to 599. Sorry, 559. And then like this one, 673 down to 499. That's such a huge drop. But here's what's really interesting, because you're going to want to know this. We have a $30K lender incentive tied to preferred lenders here at Parkstone Mortgage. So it's just going to show you that builders are still having to really offer incentives. Now, I'm going to go through what these other builders said. What do you think about all of this builder information so far? Now, I'm not going to give you the specific builders I talked to, because I talk to these builders all the time. So I'm just going to give you kind of an idea of what area. So like Whisper Valley, here's a builder that's building out there right now. So they have 10 to-be-built lots, and they are closing in early fall. On top of that, they're only giving about $8,000 towards closing costs. As far as just inventory, they have zero inventory on the ground right now in Whisper Valley. So here's really interesting what they told me. They said, we cut costs of our prices and homes started to sell quickly in January. Out of their 72 lots, 60 sold. So a lot of these builders in January really cut costs or really cut the prices, and they saw sales. Now, this one says that they don't have any current inventory available, so they're only doing to be built. So they don't have any active inventory other than the 12 that they can build on. As far as their sentiment, they said, we have had to drop our prices significantly, and then things began to sell steadily. So that was one builder. Here's one in North Haven. This is out near Liberty Hill. Very big high-end production builder out in this area. They have 16 completed inventory on the ground ready to go. That's a lot for inventory. 16 homes competing against each other. Yeah, you're going to see prices drop. Most of our buyers need a lot of courtship before they make a decision to purchase, is what they are telling me. On top of that, as far as incentives, they're giving $10,000 towards closing costs. And 6 months to almost 2 years after you close, they will actually refi with the same lender. So that's pretty interesting at no cost. So that's pretty good. If you're looking at somebody that's looking at 7% interest rate right now, you get that to maybe 6.5%, and then in 15 months you decide to refi for free, it's going to save you about $6,000 to $9,000. That's pretty nice. And here's what they said when it comes to personal sentiment. Most of our buyers are extremely anxious. I find that the price point around 900, which is a 900 price point, they are much slower to take and make a decision. So those are two builders out of the 4 that I talked to. Let's see what the next ones say. Now this one is in Southeast Austin. They have 25 inventory homes available. That is a lot of inventory. So are they moving quickly? Since January, we cut the cost of our prices significantly, and now homes are beginning to sell faster. So what are we noticing as a trend? These builders are definitely having to cut costs or cut prices. Now, they are only paying for the title policy for buyers, which means they're really not giving you any closing costs. For 25 inventory homes, I find that hard to believe, but they are only giving title policy, which is going to be, depending on the price of the home, $3,000-ish. So not a lot. Typically, when you go turn around and go and sell that home, you as a seller end up paying that title policy for the next buyer. So I don't really think it's fair when builders do that. I'm just telling you the way I feel about it. So as far as upcoming inventory that they have, they said that they will release additional 24 lots. As far as overall sentiment, we took a huge hit when rates went up. It was super busy and then slowed down at a steady pace. So everybody says that. All right, here's the last one we're going to talk about. This is one of my favorite builders. I'm not going to say their name, but if you've paid attention to this channel, it's one of my favorite builders. And they are out in Six Creeks and Kyle. They have 5 move-in ready homes. So we're talking about a decent amount of inventory here as far as new construction all the way around. And how are they moving? Extremely fast. That's all they said. They're moving extremely fast. They're giving $20,000 towards buyers' upgrades off the home. They have 7 lots to be built. And as far as just their overall sentiment in the market, they said it's been selling extremely heavily. Now, this is down in Kyle, a very popular neighborhood, Six Creeks. I've done a video about it. I'll probably link that video right here in a minute. So what are you thinking about new construction? Are you thinking maybe you will buy new construction? Overall, I think there's a lot of inventory still, and if you're buying, you better call me, and we better negotiate the crap out of that deal. Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group. We'll see you in the next video.